Hello everyone, I am Dr. Buddhika Lienige. So today I would like to talk about the current topic, the shielding yourself from forever chemicals, simply abbreviated as PFAS. We all know enough information about PFAS or how we can protect from forever chemicals exposure. Let's go and find out. What are the PFAS? Forever chemicals, also known as per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. They are a group of synthetic chemicals widely used for their water and the grease-resistant properties. You can see in this structure perfluorooctane sulfonic acid, simply abbreviated as PFOA, perfluorooctanoic acid PFOA. Why they are called forever chemicals? Because they do not break down easily in the environment and can accumulate in the environment over time. Harm and the safety concerns. Environmental persistence. PFAS are highly resistant to degradation, leading to the long-term environmental contaminations, and they can accumulate in water bodies, soil, and the living organisms. How these PFAS affects on human health. PFAS can leading to cancer. Some studies suggest a link between PFAS exposure and the certain types of cancer, such as kidneys and the testicular cancers. And also, PFAS exposure can interfere with hormone functions, potentially affecting the reproductive health and the development. In utero and the early life exposure may impact the growth, learning, and the behavior in infants and the children. If we consider PFAS environmental impact, PFAS can contaminate drinking water sources, that leading to widespread in human exposure. Wildlife, particular aquatic organisms, can accumulate PFAS, affecting the ecosystems and food chains. How we minimize the exposure to forever chemicals. So minimizing exposure to forever chemicals involves a combination of the personal choices, advocating for strict regulations and supporting efforts to clean up the existing contaminations. So let's go and find out what are the personal choices and what are the supporting efforts so we can contribute to minimize the exposure to forever chemicals. Personal choices. What are the personal choices we can select to minimize this exposure to PFAS? We can replace the non-stick cookware with stainless steel or the cast irons that can reduce PFAS exposure. Be cautious with food packaging. Reduce consumption of fast food and takeout, which often comes in PFAS-treated packaging. Looking for clothing, furniture, and the carpets that labeled as PFAS-free, and avoid stain-resistant treatments on fabrics and furniture. We can use filter for drinking water. Use water filters certified to remove PFAS, such as the reverse osmosis filters or activated carbon filters. Be cautious of products that are water resistant, stain resistant, or grease resistant, as they might contain PFAS. So finally, looking for products with certifications indicating they are free from PFAS is the wise way we can minimize the exposure to PFAS forever chemicals. Support legislation. So advocate for strict regulations on PFAS production, use and the disposal. And encourage funding for research into safer alternatives to PFAS and effective remediation techniques. So we can join local and national groups advocating for clean water and the reduced use of harmful chemicals. In the environmental side, The support efforts to identify and remediate sites contaminated with PFAS, and the advocate for responsible disposal and the management of PFAS containing waste. We can monitor water quality, encourage local water utilities to regularly test for PFAS and take necessary actions to reduce contamination. Also, stay informed about water quality in your area and support community efforts to address any issues. Education and awareness is really important to minimize the exposure from these forever chemicals. Stay informed, keep up to date with the latest research and news about PFAS, and educate yourself and others about the sources and the risk factors about this exposure. They share information about PFAS and their risk with friends, family, and the community members are important. By taking these steps, individuals and communities can significantly reduce their exposure to PFAS and contribute to broad efforts to manage and mitigate the impact of these persistent chemicals. The summary of the PFAS. PFAS, forever chemicals, can interfere in many parts of our body. PFAS has found in some people's blood, which can elevate the cholesterol levels. And PFAS damage the liver and it can weaken the immune system. The research has found that drinking water supplies, the rainwater and the groundwater are contaminated with PFAS. And the exposure to these forever chemicals may lead to the development of cancer, such as kidneys and the testicular cancers. Then what are the do's we can minimize or prevent the exposure to forever chemicals? Avoid cosmetics and the lotions that contain PFAS, and the dental flosses contain PFAS, and improve awareness about the PFAS and share the PFAS knowledge with others, and replace the food package with PFAS free packages, and avoid waterproof and the stain resistant products. Stay informed about the water quality in your area and use a good water filter. Are some of the precautions we can minimize forever chemicals exposure. Thank you all for watching. Join for fascinating chemistry topics. Please subscribe the channel.